October 2025, Interstate 10 in Ontario. Traffic slows, then stops. But a semi-truck doesn't. The chain reaction crash involves 8 vehicles, killing 3 people and injuring 4 others. Behind the wheel, 21-year-old Jasonpreet Singh of Yuba City, now facing multiple counts of vehicular manslaughter. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Singh is from India and entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and was later released pending immigration proceedings. Records show he had a valid commercial driver's license at the time of the crash. Investigators are now looking into how he obtained the license and whether any rules were violated.
There's a multiple vehicle accident, including an 18-wheeler.
December 3rd, 2022. A semi-truck barrels into a van stopped at a red light near Orlando. Inside, 4 generations of a family.
Try not to move too much, okay? You hear me? Hey, don't move so much. Don't move so much. Stay right where you're at.
I broke my back, 9 broken ribs. I had a concussion, had a brain bleed. My legs were swollen. They're still very disfigured.
She's not responding. Not responding. Can you hear me?
I wake up and I look at Christy and she's got her head hanging down and she has a little blood coming out of her mouth.
All were rushed to the hospital, but Elisa suffered the most severe injuries.
She's considered quadriplegic.
You know, there's, I don't know if you could actually say like worse things than dying, but this is a horrible, it's just awful.
For this family, the crash didn't end that day. It raised a bigger question. How did this happen? Investigators say the driver later tested positive for drugs and in a deposition acknowledged struggling with the written commercial driver's license test in English, raising questions about some commercial driver's training, testing, and licensing oversight. Now, after crashes across the country, a little-known licensing system called Non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, or non-domiciled CDLs, is under scrutiny by industry experts and the federal government.
California is the only state that has refused to enforce our laws where a commercial driver speaks English, can understand English.
Non-domiciled CDLs allow foreign nationals with federal work authorization, but no permanent U.S. residency, to legally drive commercial trucks in the U.S. But while high-profile crashes have brought more attention to non-domiciled CDLs, publicly available data does not show these drivers are responsible for a large share of trucking fatalities. Federal court filings citing FMCSA data state non-domiciled CDL holders make up about 5% of CDL holders nationwide, but account for about 0.2% of fatal truck crashes. FMCSA has cited 17 fatal crashes in 2025 involving non-domiciled CDL holders, crashes that killed 30 people as part of its justification for tightening federal rules. But those crashes represent a small fraction of the thousands of fatal large truck crashes recorded nationwide each year. Dale Prax, a strategic fraud advisor at truckstop.com and founder of freightvalidate.com, says accountability shouldn't stop with the driver.
We always see the driver's face on the TV. My contention is somebody hired this guy. Some company put this guy on the road knowing that he was not qualified to drive a motor vehicle. I think that we need to investigate those companies and do a complete audit. If it resulted in a fatality on the highway, that company should be shut down with an immediate imminent danger, imminent hazard, out of service order until we get it all figured out to make sure they are safe enough to be putting drivers on the highways.
Late last year, California said it was revoking roughly 17,000 commercial licenses after the DMV issued drivers CDLs that had expiration dates that did not match the driver's legal presence documents. State officials now say that number has narrowed. The DMV canceled more than 12,000 commercial licenses in March after determining the documents on file no longer aligned with those drivers' legal authorization status. Officials say thousands of other drivers were removed from their list after becoming U.S. citizens or permanent residents, switching to non-commercial licenses, or allowing their CDLs to expire. The review is still ongoing. The DMV says another 1,900 drivers were recently sent cancellation notices that took effect May 19th. California DMV officials also say the state is currently unable to issue new non-domiciled CDLs because of a federal directive from the FMCSA, and there is still no timeline for when that could change. But for drivers like Amarjeet Singh,
it was really shocking for me. I was like, shocked and depressed for 10 days.
The fallout from having his non-domiciled CDL revoked was immediate. He came to the U.S. in 2012, spent years building a career, and eventually earned his CDL after years of driving and training.
Went to the DMV for a written test, so passed that in English, not another language.
He spent months training on the road with experienced drivers before eventually working his way up to buying his own truck.
I bought a used truck, it's almost like $160,000, and put around like a $30,000 down payment, and the rest of took a loan from the bank and making payments.
Now he says his future is uncertain.
I think overall Punjabi community is very hardworking, and they are really good drivers, that's for sure.
We spoke with the CEO of the North American Punjabi Trucking Association, who represents thousands of drivers across the country and has spent decades in the industry himself. He says after high-profile crashes, many drivers are now facing backlash.
We heard the stories from drivers. They're being spit on, they're being called names.
They're being spit on?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff happened on the roads, on the truck stops.
That reaction has created fear, Rahman said, even for drivers following the rules. And as the focus turns to non-domiciled CDLs, he believes many drivers are now caught in the middle of what he calls a state error, where some licenses were approved for longer than drivers were illegally authorized to work.
That is something that California made a mistake of issuing the licenses which expire after their work permit expire. So that is a clerical mistake. That is not a mistake that is made by the driver or anybody else. So that mistake was done by California.
He says while accountability matters, so does context.
I don't think so it's right to talk about the whole community as one person makes a mistake, and that's totally wrong.
And no matter who's behind the wheel,
I cannot stress more than anything, the safety is the utmost priority, should be in trucking, because safety is the first thing that anybody should think about it.
Oversight is split. The federal government sets the rules while the state issues the licenses. Advocates say enforcement has been inconsistent, and they've been calling for stronger oversight for years. Brian Watt, a 40-year veteran of the transportation industry, says the move to revoke non-domiciled CDLs might be too little too late.
It looks good on paper, and we're seeing it all over the country. And again, the federal government is holding up California as an example, which I personally think is misplaced. It's politics. But that said, getting 17,000 drivers that shouldn't be on the highways off the highway is a good idea. But the reason you're seeing such high numbers is because enforcement has been non-existent for so many years, so all of a sudden they're playing catch-up. The enforcement should be occurring before these people go into the system and start hauling freight, and that is not happening. It's still not happening.
From Ontario to Florida, 2 crashes thousands of miles apart, raising the same question: who's responsible? Experts say oversight is shared. At the federal level, the FMCSA sets the rules, deciding who's eligible, setting safety standards, and conducting audits. At the state level, agencies like the California DMV issue licenses, handle renewals, and make sure they align with the driver's legal status. Some in the industry support stricter oversight, saying it's needed to improve safety. Others say the crackdown is sweeping up drivers who followed the rules.
Who's really responsible for the regulation and oversight of these drivers on the road?
I would say it's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. That's who was assigned to do the job after deregulation, and they've not done it.
Caught in the middle are drivers trying to hold on to their livelihoods.
So when I drive on the truck, I think about my family. I have 2 kids, So I want to go home. It's not I want to be hurt somebody, or I want to be hurt myself, So I think about safety for other people and safety about me,
And families like the one in Florida still searching for answers.